Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be talking about the Mindset app, which is trying to improve dementia diagnosis with the help of AI. I'll also be chatting to their founder about how and why he started this. Let's start the video. So I've been following the Mindset app for some time now, and on their website they describe themselves as the world's largest dementia AI initiative. They say regardless of your age, you can help improve dementia care with one quick download. So I thought I'd download it and give it a try. First off, I really love the design. If you think about who the target market is here, it's likely to be older people. So trying not to be ageist here, it needs to be designed in a simple and quite clean way. I remember how hard it was to get my gran to try a digital TV for the first time, so I think they've done a really great job here. They have this really nice bot-style design where you feel just like you're having a conversation. So it starts by collecting some basic information like this. I presume just some data points that the researchers are particularly interested in. It's also looking for signs of depression because unfortunately 60% of people with dementia suffer from depression, which is obviously really sad, but if we can pick up on that early, it might help with the diagnosis later down the line. Okay, so once you've collected these basic data points, you then need to complete 3 tasks. They're all pretty straightforward. Okay, so the first is this number and symbol association game, which I am surprisingly slow at. Okay, so the next task is one we've all done before. It's the one where the word written is a color, but the word is also a color, and you've got to say the color of the word. Let me try that again. It's basically where you've got to say the color of the word rather than what the word says. Fortunately, I'm a little bit quicker at this one, so hopefully that stands me in better stead. Okay, so both of those tasks are pretty common, and they're used a lot in clinical medicine to help diagnose dementia and track its progression. But the next task actually I've never seen before, and it's really interesting. Okay, so it's using the AR kit from the iOS dev suite, and effectively what it's doing is it's augmenting some balloons into your room, and you have to find them as quickly as possible, and that gives you some sort of score. I must admit I've got absolutely no idea how this pertains to the diagnosis of dementia, but I guess that's something we'll have to find out. Okay, so once you've done the tasks, you're given a badge, which I really like because I love to collect badges. It's another layer of gamification, which makes it far more engaging for the user, and it's really cleverly done. What's really nice is the app also has a Medium account. If you don't know what Medium is, it's just a blog site where you can basically write and share articles. And they've written articles on why each part of the app is as it is. So why you're doing each task and why they're asking the questions they're asking. So if you're interested, you can find out more there, which is nice. So honestly, I think the app is great, and I think the team behind it have done a really good job. But why is a diagnostic app like this useful, and where can we see something like this going? Fortunately, I got to speak to Hamzah Selim, the founder of Mindset, to find out more. Hi Hamza, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
What's led you to where you are now? Obviously, it's quite a cool thing to be doing. You're very early in your medical career, and you've built this diagnostics app. How have you got here?
Although it's early in my medical career, I suppose it's kind of late in my overarching university career. So I went to Imperial first. I did a neuroscience and mental health BSc, and I was in my latter years. I was pretty confident I wanted to go and to do medicine. I was like, there's a real clinical application of neuroscience is something that really stood out to me as what I was really interested in. And I suppose there was a distinct moment. I was learning about eye movements in just this lecture in at Imperial, and just the classic where they're like, oh, cranial nerve 3 does this, and you test it with moving your finger, and you're supposed to look for a flicker of your retina or something to pick up really subtle neurological changes. And I was like, oh bloody hell, that's difficult, and there's no way. And they were showing me these stats, I remember, of people that get it wrong, and it's you need to be a top level consultant to really diagnose a brainstem stroke that well, and it's also variable. And I was like, oh well, that seems even more useless. I was like, oh, this is, and I just got distracted, and I went onto my phone, and I was like, I don't know, it's 2017, 2018 back then. So Snapchat was still a really big thing. And I think I was being stupid and I don't know, flirting with someone. I had a stupid dog mask on my face or something. And I was like, oh, it's tracking my eye movement. That's funny. It's putting those dog ears on my head by mapping my eyes, and it can do it really well. And I'm sure the person next to me in the lecture thought I was going insane. I was moving my head around, and I was like, wow, this technology already exists. I bet the consultant lecturing me doesn't know about it. But, you know, this could be used to track the eye movement that he says is so difficult to do. And that is the overarching concept of mindset, basically, like distilled down. It's about taking technology that exists. You know, the iPhone is unbelievably capable right now, and then then implement it using that technology, but and combining it with excellent sort of clinical science to bring, you know, what we do in the clinic to everyone through their phone. And the first stage of that, like the dots lined up when I saw Snapchat and eye movement, and then you can just extrapolate it to any concept, really. And I was like, well, where would early diagnosis be really useful? And I was like, obviously dementia. It's a hugely prevalent problem. There's loads of clinical evidence to suggest early diagnosis equals early, you know, a better quality of life, psychologically for the family as well. So yeah, then we just built that concept out for dementia, and then I think people really related to it. It was kind of refreshing to see something new being done, and I don't really know how I got the past year has been a bit confusing. I don't really know either, but that's how it started.
It's all just rocketed up. Yeah, no, it's fantastic to see. So I suppose that kind of ties in with my next question: is why? Where's the motivation for making this app? Is it the early diagnosis? Is that what you want?
Yeah. Well, like, dementia is highly complex, and like just from everything from like a public health perspective to like a pharmaceutical perspective, there's a lot of question marks that surround it. So I wanted to sort of just tackle it head on from a new perspective and make the biggest amount of impact to people's lives with the resources I had at my dispense. And I just saw if you could pick up the early signs and symptoms, you know, figure out when a patient's baseline starts to deteriorate. I was on acute medicine a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, these people come in with baselines and you've got no clue where they started. And I was like, you know, mindset, hopefully, fingers crossed, is on the track of being a metric there from which we can level up an individual's baseline. And I just saw there was a huge impact psychologically, you know, clinically as well. Just like the general thesis in like why of dementia drugs don't work is that, you know, obviously your brain atrophies and can't mend itself, and by the time that's sort of clinically visible, it's, you know, too little too late. And if you can pick it up earlier, the thought is that these therapies would be more effective. So it's just, and that's what I see. Figuring that, it sounds so obvious now, it's like obviously early diagnosis, but like, you know, dementia is so big and so huge, and I knew we had something, but it was all about like making that link. And to be fair, like Imperial have this really good like startup program they put you through, and that is where they like help me sort of connect the dots. I mean, in that concept extrapolated, I'm sure you know, is like called product market fit. It's where you build something that meets the users that actually people want to use, and that was like what early diagnosis was for me. So it was really important we just didn't build something that was just like fancy and nice. It just had to make something, you know, an actual difference.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, yeah, it's brilliant. So I've gone on it a couple of times now. I understand the first two tasks. I know what you're looking there for from a medical perspective, but the last one where you're looking around the room and trying to find balloons, what's the theory behind that? What are you looking for?
Oh, this is some blue sky stuff. So there's probably, yeah, you can't really look up like balloon test. We've sort of come up with that natively, and it's actually showing to be our most valuable test clinically in terms of picking up the signs, because the general concept is that there is visual spatial disturbances early on in patients, and there's a lot of disorientation that patients feel in the early stages, in particular in Alzheimer's. So they'll go into a new room and they won't quite remember it, or they'll be quite easily disorientated in certain, you know, navigation systems, and there'll be depth perception issues as well. And it's testing those three mainly. So you and I will probably what we see is you and I will search them pretty quickly, pretty logically, like you go in an orderly fashion, and if you can't see it, you'll go back. A person living with dementia or early signs will be slower, more confused, more, I don't want to say illogical, but more lost in their approach, maybe, which is unfortunate, but it's a sign that goes often missed until it's too late, until you read about someone like on a motorway road or something, you know, then it's severe. And that's what we're trying to do, is catch it early.
Or getting, I suppose, I mean, one of the main concerning signs of dementia is when patients start wandering and things like that, and that can become quite dangerous. So I imagine it ties well into that. But that's fantastic that you've come up with that kind of test in-house. That's really, really interesting. So I've seen where Mindset is now, and effectively you go into the app and you do these tests, and it's meant to create a sort of baseline. Where do you hope this app can go? Where do you want to take it?
Yeah, so I suppose when you make something, there's different like stages, especially with data, but like the overarching principle with AI is that you've got to show like correlative, findings first. So I can give an example that we're actually going to publish probably tomorrow. We just got it signed off, and it shows basically your neurological condition is you are far more likely to have a worse neurological function in certain areas of the brain if you've had a concussion. So Mindset's picked up all of these concussion individuals as classic exposure outcome situation. It's not complicated stats. It's just because the data, and this is a huge study. This is the biggest concussion study that's ever been done, apparently, because it's so easy to download an app and just do it. People did it from the pub, from the pool, anywhere. We've got this huge amount of data, and we've just picked out these 2 points, right? A correlative link. The R value is something like, it's like 2.9. It's in the risk score, and the confidence interval was really narrow. It's a really nice stat. And then the next stage is from correlation to show prediction. So you'd be like, from this metric, I can now start to predict if you are going to become deteriorated. And obviously, this is just a single metric, but when you map them around each other, then you can figure out if someone's on that trajectory to decline, and that's when you make nice medicine.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty. And we're building something called the M score.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it's going to allow individuals to monitor their cognitive health, because there's no real like in-depth breakdown properly yet. I think there's like BRAC scoring and there's like Montreal test and all of that, but like,
and things like, do you reckon this would replace the MMSE and things like that?
Yeah, exactly. We want something more tangible to the public, basically, so they can take ownership of their health. And perhaps from that, we can, if it's shown to be on that bad trajectory or unhealthy trajectory, we can offer them a management plan, basically. And so that's the stage we're going. That's the direction we're going into.
That's fantastic. So I suppose you kind of hope that the app will become the de facto diagnosis tool for dementia. Are you focusing on any particular type of dementia, or is it quite generalized?
I think Alzheimer's is our main focus. Just sheer prevalence, it makes most sense to sort of tackle, and that's where we geared most of the tests and the questions to. But I think the more niche ones are the more preventable ones. Mm-hmm. So like it's not really a dementia, but like we're seeing alarming amounts of alcohol addiction, self-reported into the app. And then we're also seeing those individuals showing, short-term memory problems. And it feels like that is although not officially under the dementia umbrella, an easy neurological condition to pick up and offer a management plan for. So yeah, I think that's really interesting. I think sports related concussion dementia is super, again, huge preventable, mechanics can be in place.
Very relevant at the moment as well, I suppose,
yeah,
including the football.
I don't know if you watched the Arsenal game, but yeah, all that.
Fantastic. Well, is this, so my final question is, I suppose, is this something you want to do as a career? Are you hoping to go into neurology and specialize in dementia, or is this just something you're doing at the moment and want to build out?
I really I love neuro. I mean, I'm getting a bit sick of it because it's all I do. And people literally, the consultant was like, what are the top causes of delirium to me? I couldn't name all of them. And he was like, oh, aren't you dementia boy? Aren't you meant to have that Alzheimer's app? And I was like, oh, yeah, what there maybe. Yeah, no, I do love neuro. I usually fast about it. Being a pediatric at the moment, I think there's huge potential in that range. I was thinking of making I think all clinical medicine has a mindset. I don't know if that's the right term, but like a means of creating a screening tool or whatever in there somewhere. You just have to find the right use case and build the right thing around it. And I think you can do a huge amount. We know, like, from the NHS, screening programs save lives. So I think there should be more. The hard part is the app building part. I think the medicine is the easy part.
Brilliant. Well, Hamza, thank you so much for your time. It's been really enlightening to see your thought process behind it after having gone on the app and seeing what you're building. I think it's amazing. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. And hopefully we'll check in with you sometime in the future.
Cheers. Awesome.
Thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, happy deving, and I'll see you in the next video.